Hello, intellectual explorers. Welcome to the Schooled Podcast, where each week we take our curiosities to the next level and dive deep into the mysteries that make you go, But fear not. We have shouldered the burden of all the research for you. So buckle up. Let's do some mild learning while sidelining that presentation you've been procrastinating on. Let's get schooled.
This show is for entertainment purposes only. We make no promises on the accuracy of the information we obtain from our sources, mostly Wikipedia. Information obtained from this podcast should not be used for your Nobel Prize acceptance speech or class assignment. So take it all with a grain of salt. We're here for a good time, not a fact-checking session. If you need concrete evidence, consult an encyclopedia or a very serious-looking person in a lab coat.
Hello.
Oh, hey.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, Brian. Welcome to the very first Schooled podcast.
Welcome.
We did it. We made
did it. I'm super pumped.
We've been talking about it for quite a while.
Yeah.
And we finally buckled down, and here we are.
Yeah. Here we are.
So on today's episode, I am going to try and explain where the origin of cats having 9 lives come from.
Okay.
And you are going to unravel the mystery.
Antikythera mechanism, the first analog computer.
The first analog computer. Okay.
Is this why you have Stanley in here today?
Normally, I would not allow Stanley in here, but I thought that
Stanley is our cat, by the way.
Very much our cat. I thought that since the episode was about him, that I would let him in here today. He's really trying to find a comfy spot.
That is hilarious.
Okay. All right. He's got it. So click on the link below if you want to listen to the full version of this episode. And we do this every single week. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and you can listen on all of your listening platforms.
We're going to do this every week, we should say.
We are going to do this every week.
Because we're not really actively yet.
No, we are.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. What she said.
What she said. Okay. Before we begin, I want to address something that happened last night.
Uh-oh.
Which was you.
Me?
You hog tying me to the car, dousing me with alcohol. Not dousing. Pouring it down my throat, essentially.
Oh, wow.
And forcing me to do something that I've never done before.
Okay. This sounds really scary.
Which would be...
And I don't remember what you're...
Korean karaoke.
Oh, yeah. You threw me off with the forcing alcohol down your throat and tying you to a car, which I don't remember that happening, but...
Oh.
I do remember, like, coercing you and trying to get you to go do it, because I always thought it would be fun to do. Sure. Never done Korean karaoke before.
Sure. And since we're on the topic, I really couldn't quite tell you what the difference between regular karaoke and Korean karaoke is. Like the only difference that I could see is that there was a Korean lady serving us drinks.
Which could happen at a regular karaoke place.
It could happen at a regular karaoke place.
Or a non-Korean person might do a Korean karaoke place.
I don't think that can happen.
That would never happen?
That should never happen.
All right.
That was the only difference. But what happened at the Korean karaoke place versus what I was promised was very different. I was promised private singing in a room with just you and our friends. And what actually happened was singing in front of 100 people that I've never met before.
This did happen. I can confirm this. Well, I think in Korean karaoke, there are supposed to be side rooms. But again, I've never done it, but I think that's like why it's different. And we didn't go in a side room. I did see some rooms, but they were all closed. And it kind of looked like they were just staffed for the one main hall, I'll say, just because there was quite a few people.
So what is it safe to say that was false advertising, or?
I mean, I'll take the blame for that. Yeah, I didn't. I false advertised.
Here's another thing you can take the blame for.
Okay.
Knowing that I didn't want to sing, writing my name down on a Post-it note along with a song for me to sing, walking up to the DJ, handing it to him, and then saying, "Put this on tap," in front of every other person that was waiting to go, and having me go next.
Oh, so you found some problems with that?
Yes.
That wasn't officially me, but I did see who did that, and I didn't stop them.
Right.
So I'll still take the blame for that.
I think that's pretty much implicating
Even
you
if
in
it
a
was
crime.
them, even if I didn't see it, it would still be my fault somehow. So
I think the law says you need to interfere if you see a crime.
yeah,
I think there's actually a term for that. Someone tell me what the term for that is. Complicit? I'm not sure.
yeah, sounds.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're never doing that again.
I thought it was fun.
I did like your Bust a Move rendition.
Oh, thanks.
That was pretty good. You hit a lot of those notes. You think someday I can get you to do that on a camera here?
No.
Oh. Okay. All right. Well, let's get on to the episode then.
Okay.
Now that I got that off my chest. So there was tons of topics that I could have done for our first episode, but I chose this one because this cat right here sitting in my lap, we basically have an asshole cat, and all of our lives revolve around him. Everything we do revolves around Stanley. If Stanley's not happy, no one in the house is happy.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you agree?
Absolutely agree with you.
Yeah. And we've seen him get into situations. Curiosity killed the cat, definitely is also a saying because, we've seen him jump off things and eat things that he probably shouldn't. So I wanted to I couldn't possibly be the only one sitting here wondering, where did the saying cats have 9 lives come from? I couldn't possibly be the only one sitting here researching
I've
that.
wondered it several times.
But before I get into my research, I thought it would be really cute and very fitting if you would tell the story of how we met.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Do you see how that kind of ties in?
Absolutely, because it has to do with Stanley, our cat.
It has to do with Stanley.
Man, is it always going to be like a lot of curveballs that you throw at me?
Yes, I
Okay.
would love for you to throw me some curveballs because they're funny.
All right. Yeah. Oh, hopefully at least entertaining. Yeah. So Stanley is the main reason that I'm with Jen, because at a time in my life when I was single, I was on one of those dating sites, and I was able to connect with Jen because of Stanley. And the reason for that is she had bought, and I'll probably get a little of this wrong since I wasn't there yet.
Okay, I will fill
But she had
in
bought
the blanks.
a kitten to supplement Stanley. Or is it complement Stanley or supplement? Either way.
We thought that he needed a friend. So we bought a kitten and named it Yadi Dumbledore Paul Goldschmidt.
What's the gold? I get the Dumbledore.
Paul Goldschmidt.
Oh, Paul Goldschmidt. Okay.
Was Audrey's favorite Cardinals first baseman.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then Yadi or Melina, and my kids like Harry Potter. What's not to understand about that name?
Well, I thought it was Paul was one person, and then Goldschmidt was like a different reference. But
apparently she loved him so much, she wanted to include both.
Sure.
Things.
Now that you said that, I remember him vaguely. But so he didn't like this cat.
No.
And so it was not the intent. I guess it was intended for him to like the cat.
Right.
He did not like the cat, and he got super aggressive. And Jen was trying to break up a fight, and Stanley most likely accidentally bit her on the hand, or on purpose. Who knows?
I don't know.
And she, over the course of a day or so, she got a really, really bad infection in her hand.
Yep.
And had to be hospitalized for 4 days. And basically, the only reason she gave me the time of day in my mind is because she was stuck in a hospital bed for 4 days and really bored.
No, in reality. That's not just in your mind. In reality.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because it was either that or my profile was just so great.
No.
No?
No. I don't think you put a lot of time into your profile.
No, I did not. It was like I'm bored tonight. Let's just throw a few pictures on the internet. And see
Well,
what
that's how I
happens.
was at the hospital.
Yeah, there
I'm
you
bored
go.
tonight. Let's swipe on a few hundred profiles and see
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah, so that worked out really well for me though, because I got somebody that's way out of my league, obviously. So thanks, Stanley.
Yeah,
Appreciate your help there, buddy.
we just started chatting it up on the dating site over the next 3 or 4 days.
I'll remember that next time you knock expensive stuff off the counter.
God, Stanley. Ugh. All right. Well, thank you for telling that story.
Yeah, that was
It's a really. How many people can say they met because of a cat scratch fever?
probably not that much.
Probably not that many.
That many.
Oh, how'd you meet my girlfriend? Oh, she got bit by a cat. Random.
That is random.
Okay, so let's dive into where did this saying come from?
All right.
So the very first thing I wanted to do in researching this was, why do cats and humans even interact in the first place? Like, why are cats our pets and not like zebras or llamas or alligators or something?
Right.
Like, why do we invite cats into our homes? Obviously, the alligator one's probably pretty obvious, but why cats and not something else?
Absolutely.
So I went back to the very beginning and tried to figure out when humans and cats first domesticated themselves. And what I found is that scientists found, or archaeologists, I guess, found a tomb off of the Mediterranean coast of Cyprus that was a burial site for a human and a cat, not just like they fell in a hole together like the dinosaur tar pits. Like they actually were buried. I guess
that's
died.
A throwback to our grade school days.
Yeah. They actually were buried together. I guess they died at the same time and like put together in a grave. So that was 9,500 years ago. So that's the first time we realized that humans and animals like have a mutual respect for each other. But scientists actually think that 3,000 years before that is when we first actually started to interact.
That is insane. That's a huge amount of
with
time.
cats. And here's why. It's because 12,000, I'll just say 13,000 years ago, we were more migratory. We weren't, we didn't like settle land and build homes and things like that. So when we started to settle the land and build, like actually farm it and build homes and things like that, cats started showing up because of all the rodents that were around, because of all the food that we were growing. And they acted as sort of like a pest control for us. And we were like, oh, cool. Thanks, bro, for killing all those rodents. That was really cool of you. I'm going to give you some food and pat your head and say, good boy or girl. So I can just like picture,
that makes sense,
a cat like 12,000 years ago, like bringing mice to like the door. How Stanley does to us now. Thanks, Stanley. So anyway, so that's kind of how it came about. So we started living with cats because they were killing all the rodents, keeping our crops safe.
That makes sense. I never thought about it, but it makes perfect sense.
So that still doesn't answer the question of why did we say they have 9 lives? So the best evidence that I could find we have to go back to ancient Egypt for this.
Okay.
I know. So in ancient Egypt, cats were treated like rock stars. They freaking loved cats in Egypt. Okay. They mummified them. They had tons of artwork, like painted all over their, not caves, but their temples. For them, they had laws protecting cats. So if you were to hurt a cat, even accidentally, you could pay a fine, you could get killed, like every extreme. They revered cats, man. So basically what I'm saying is they enslaved their citizens to build the pyramids and starved them, but cats were treated like royalty.
Interesting.
Okay. And here,
their sense of priority.
Right. Yeah. So it's like in the grand scheme of things, it was like pharaohs at the very top, then cats, dogs. You think they cared about dogs? I don't know.
Maybe.
And then people, they're citizens.
Sure.
We'll say
after
at the very bottom. Probably maybe something was below that. I'm not really sure. Anyways.
That's wild.
So still doesn't answer the question of why they say they have 9 lives. So the best evidence that I could find was two Greek. One was a god, one was a goddess. Atum Ra is the sun god, and he was believed to enter the underworld. I'm not sure if they meant that he could go in and out of the underworld, but enter the underworld as the form of a cat. And then he also created 8 other gods that represented the underworld.
Okay.
So
So that's not
representing the nine
nine
lives.
total
Right.
lives.
Right. And it was also Egyptians also believed that cats had special relationships with the gods. They mummified their cats and they thought that they would guide them into the afterlife.
Okay.
Like very spiritual
Right.
human beings. Like they literally, not we, scientists literally found millions of detombed cats
Oh my gosh.
in Egypt. I know, right?
That's
So,
crazy.
the other one was the Greek goddess I'm gonna butcher this. So if I say this wrong, please feel free to correct me. It's not gonna hurt my feelings. Actually, feel free to correct any of us on any of these
For
things.
sure.
It's not going to hurt our feelings.
Yeah, we have day jobs, so we don't. This is not our expertise.
It's just fun.
It's just fun.
It's just fun. So the Greek goddess Bastet, again, I don't know if I'm saying that right, was depicted with the head of a cat and was thought to be able to ward off evil spirits and death. So she was considered like a protector of home and fertility, and she was the one who actually made punishing a cat
Oh.
a law. Like, yeah. So anyway,
Cool.
right. So I did some more researching, and I want to tell you that I found so many stories that were hilarious about cats getting out of precarious situations like electrocution, being shipped in a box like for weeks at a time, and falling off places was the biggest one. I have 2 stories that I wanted to share with you, just like about cats and being able to get out of situations that probably should have killed them, which probably helps to keep this PR campaign that they got going on, that they got 9 lives. So I read a story about a cat that fell off of a New York 32-story building.
Whoa.
Yeah, fell off the building and landed on its belly, like kind of like spread eagle like that. The only thing that was wrong with this cat when they took it to the vet, I mean, it should have been dead, but broken rib, chipped tooth.
Wow, that's amazing.
Isn't that crazy? So
and a story's like 10 feet or like maybe a little more.
32 stories.
Well, I know, but like I was trying to figure out total feet. It's like it's over 300 feet. We
Right.
can be safe to say.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's an insanely high.
Should we see if Stanley can do it? Just kidding, Stanley. Just kidding. So I was thinking, I was like, how does that even happen? Like I've seen Stanley fall off of things and like he like twists himself, you know? So I was like, how do they know to do that? And so I actually Googled terminal velocity, and I'm gonna dumb this down like I had to do for you, for my dumb brain, and
Okay.
for everyone else. So terminal velocity basically just means like when you're falling, gravity is obviously pushing you down. And at some point when you're falling, there's no like measurement or anything, but the air that's pushing you up as you're falling starts to equal the gravity force that's pushing you down. And that's when you reach terminal velocity.
Okay.
And when that happens in a cat's brain, again, a bunch of science stuff, they can somehow understand that they're falling and that's happening, and they can twist themselves so they land like cats on all fours, like a parachute.
Wow.
Like that. I know. And that's
so their
what
brain just like kicks in and says start twisting
Yeah.
a certain way, and then
Yeah. Cats, man. Okay.
that's
And
pretty
then
cool.
here's like kind of along the same lines of cats falling off of buildings. So there's a place in Belgium called Kattenstedt, and there's a festival around it, because what used to happen back in the 1800s was they would store wool up in the belfry tower, like high up in the belfry tower, basically to keep it away from like rodents. They would store it for the winter.
Okay.
And they would employ, for lack of a better word, cats to like monitor the wool so that rodents didn't come
Okay.
and eat it. And then in the spring, when the wool was ready to like be shipped or used or whatever, they would throw the cats off of the belfry tower.
Wow.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks for your help over the winter.
Yeah. So
Nice people.
I know, right? They have a whole festival around this in Belgium, around them throwing. I'm assuming they don't do this anymore. It's not like the festival where they throw the cats off.
Sure.
It's just like a remembrance thing.
Sure.
So the last cat that was thrown from the tower was witnessed landing and then just scampering away.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of funny. So people come to the festival dressed as like cats and witches, and oh, it's just a good time to be had
And
by all.
that still happens.
That still happens. You want to go?
Sure. Let's put it on our to-do list.
Yeah. So the myth of cats having 9 lives, like I mentioned that I found it in Egyptian society, but at the same time that was happening in Egyptian society, it was also popping up in like Russia and China at the same exact time. For whatever reason, in Spanish countries, they only believe that cats have 6 lives. So cats aren't as agile there.
Interesting.
As they are in Egypt. They're not able to get away from as many things. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting about where that saying came from. Basically, what I'm saying is cats don't have 9 lives. Please don't actually throw Stanley from the deck.
All right.
He will be hurt or not based on that one cat.
All right.
But we sure do love them. Even though they're useless to us, the only thing he really does is knock stuff off the counters and play with laser pointers.
And eat.
And
go to the bathroom. That was interesting.
Thanks, babe.
It's kind of crazy that they that the 9 lives thing was in Egypt, but then in a different part of the world, there's like still mysticism around cats, right?
They're like, what's up with cats?
Even if it's 6, it's still kind of 6. And you said in Spain it was 6?
In Spanish countries, it was
Spanish
6.
countries. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's weird that they would pop up at different parts of the world because they didn't have the like internet back then.
Yeah, and all over the world,
like
they were domesticating
cats. They couldn't just text each other and say,
where
hey,
was someone's pet hippo?
Right, yeah. Well, they're giant, but I get what you're saying.
Okay.
Like a squirrel.
A squirrel.
Well, cool.
Do
I go into mine now?
Yeah, you can go right on into it, unless
All
you
right.
have a grievance or something you'd like to get off your chest.
No, I think that was real swell what you did there. No grievances here.
Okay, amazing.
I have no grievances to air.
Great.
All right, so mine is the Antikythera mechanism, and the way we're doing it is she has a topic, I have a topic. We tell each other what the topic is, but not any of the detail. Right. So she told me that she was doing cats. Why do cats have 9 lives, and where did that come from? I did, and in my mind I said, okay, that's the Sphinx is a cat, because I was thinking like, okay,
very Egyptian, got it.
Like I just happened to go to because I like Egypt, it's interesting, and then I was thinking about the pyramids and how they're very old, along with the Sphinx.
Super old.
And then I was thinking about what else is old that would be interesting to research, and I typed in to the interweb, what is the oldest computer, and I found the oldest analog computer, and which is the Antikythera mechanism.
Okay, so the Antikythera mechanism is the oldest analog computer
that we know about. Yeah.
Okay.
And this thing is amazing. So
I can't wait to hear about it.
It's, I'll go into it in a little more detail, obviously, but the Greeks are pretty cool. They did this thing way earlier than people thought that the technology was available, or like the technology didn't know we didn't know it existed at that point. Mm-hmm. So that was the how I got here.
Okay, I have boarded your train.
All right. And so I wanted to talk about analog computers.
Old things.
Yeah, old things, analog computers, Antikythera mechanism. Mm-hmm. I had to I knew there were analog computers and digital, but I didn't know much about it. So I had to kind of look at that. Uh-huh. And I'm just going to read the definition of analog computer,
Okay. Oh,
and then I'll try and give examples for the people that are like us in the house. In analog
everyone.
computers, the forefathers of modern computation harnessed the continuous variation of physical phenomena for problem solving. Did you get that?
no.
Okay. So here's some examples.
Okay.
It's like the original smart devices. So they're doing some sort of a calculation or prediction or something that we don't have to do.
Okay.
So mechanical watches obviously tell time, predict time.
Okay.
So that's one of them. Slide rules they're pretty simple, but they
Sure.
they
Okay.
work as
All right. I get it.
as an analog type tool.
Mm-hmm.
Flight control systems, that's like some of the more complicated ones because
And maybe more modern.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, they went to the moon on analog. So if you think about it, so I mean, it did its job.
And we haven't been back since.
Right. Well, yeah, that's true. Maybe it's better than digital.
Maybe.
Actually, it's interesting. There are some applications that they're deciding are better for analog computing. They're taking it away from digital, but I digress. It's because of the energy usage.
Okay.
So it takes a lot less computational power and / energy.
Are you going to tell me what you want? Go with your antique theory. Then you
Yeah.
can tell me like which ones, if you know.
Yeah, I forgot what the article said.
Okay.
It was just like, yeah, there's some push to go back. But so most of these analog devices came around in like the 17th century. That's when they started being developed, right?
Okay.
And they were used like flight control computers, obviously. Those are later on, right?
Right.
But that's when they started, the 17th century.
Okay.
But what's wild about this Antikythera mechanism is that it was believed to be created in 150 BC. 100 to 150 BC, so way earlier.
So BC was 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, let's just call it it was about 2,000 years ago. This thing was created.
And what could this thing do?
Well,
you're gonna get to that.
I'll get to it. But I'll let me talk about how it was found, because I thought that was pretty interesting.
Oh, heck yeah.
What it does is interesting.
It's like some Indiana Jones shit.
It really was like some Indiana Jones shit. You're right. So there was this guy named Captain
Need to get you a hat.
Demetrios Kantos. I had to look down because I don't want to like mess up these people's names.
Sure.
I respect them.
Their
and
family.
Their descendants.
Right.
So, but he was doing some exploration off the coast of Greece, the Greek island Antikythera, if you're wondering where that name came from. So that's like.
This was in the 19th century, you said?
Yeah, this is in 1900.
1900.
1900.
Okay.
And maybe I didn't say that, so that was an important thing.
Okay.
So him and a group of divers, they're looking for stuff, and they find this Roman cargo ship that has sunk. And in this ship, in the hull of the ship, there's statues, there's marble statues, there's bronze, there's all sorts of this cool stuff, vases, things from all over the world, where the Roman Empire has just been gathering this, and they were shipping it somewhere and it sank.
This is like national treasure.
It's like national treasure.
Holy moly.
So they
was the name of the ship the Charlotte?
It could have been.
Wow.
It could have been. Actually, I don't know what the name of the ship was. It was on there. I just
didn't. Dang.
Let's just call it the Charlotte, because
the secret lies with Charlotte.
Right. The secret lies with Charlotte. You have a good memory of that movie. I know what your national treasure. Right?
You wanted to say Lampoon's Vacation.
I wanted to say National Anthem, which is a Radiohead song that I like.
And it's also our national anthem.
Yeah, but
okay.
What I was thinking about is a Radiohead song.
Okay, so Romans, they found a whole bunch of Roman collectibles.
Yeah. Are we still talking cats right now?
No.
Never mind. Okay. So yeah,
I still do have a cat on my lap though. He's taking a little nap.
They had so they're, along with all of these objects, there's this like clump of like what it looked like wood, bronze, corroded bronze, and they knew it was something, so they took it out to study it, but it wasn't as interesting as these other things.
The gold,
as the gold, the marble statues, stuff that they could see and be like, this is obviously something, because this could have just been like rocks or whatever. So
oh, you know what? For whatever reason, I was thinking Demetrius, was like a pirate. He was actually an archaeologist, so he was
Yeah, this is
probably
like
this for
he's an
research. Okay,
explorer. Like he's an explorer
okay.
archaeologist.
So he
yeah,
wasn't like he wasn't pirating this
no, this
stuff.
guy's legit. But
Got it.
do you think that
Oh, like who came along before them and did it? Yeah.
well
Is that what you were gonna say?
no, I was actually gonna say, like, do you think that him and his crew were able to now this isn't respectful to his descendants, but like let's just say hypothetically, do you think him and his crew like skim some off the top before they give it to the
Fuck yeah. You think that if they found the Hope Diamond that lady threw off the ship at the end of the movie, if they found the Hope Diamond in that boat,
I thought
or
the Hope Diamond was in Smithsonian. Oh no, the Hope is
I don't know.
I forgot which one's there's a lost diamond. I understand what you're saying.
It's in the Titanic. I have no idea if that's
I
actually
think
true.
the Hope Diamond.
I think it's been found.
Anyways,
You get my
I
point.
get what your point is.
If they found something like that,
right, it's
that would be hard to turn in.
right, but so they weren't
Unless
pirates.
they were getting 1% of a billion, like they
right,
did in
and
National Treasure.
That movie's real, right?
Yeah.
We're definitely talking about it like it is. Yeah. So you know he wasn't a pirate, but he was legit. Obviously, this stuff made it to a museum and was researched, but who knows what he has in his like closet,
Right.
You know, that his family members have like in the basement or something.
Right.
It's hard to say. The so it just sat there for 2 years though because of all this other neat stuff.
Sure,
that
he's
was
busy.
in.
Yeah.
And so he actually went on to well this let's just start with here. This guy named Staius Valerios Staius, and I apologize for the it's Stais, so Staius, right?
Yeah.
It
Let's
was
call him Val.
so this is 2 years later in 1902 in Val. Okay. He noticed a gear wheel embedded in this clump, so he was like messing with it, and he's like, "Is that a gear?" He like picks at it. I'm picturing like a little pickaxe or something.
Sure.
You know,
people are so like cautious to move dirt. It's dirt,
right?
Just like
when they're doing archaeology,
yeah,
it's crazy. They have those little brushes.
I don't have that kind of patience.
These must be very patient people for sure.
Right.
So he initially thought it was an astronomical clock, but scholars that were with him were like, no, there's no way, because that happened way later, and they could tell it was a really old item. Mm-hmm. So that kind of got put by the wayside, and it didn't really get looked at a whole lot after that, because this guy Staius was like an archaeology. He was more of like the explorer type. That's what I gathered from reading.
Oh, he's the Indiana Jones guy.
Yeah, he's more of the Indiana Jones guy.
Okay.
And he didn't. So like he didn't find it. Like the Kantos guy was the guy that found it, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this guy just started looking at it, but he did a lot of exploration.
Okay.
So I'm picturing. I also found out that his dad was Val's dad.
Mm-hmm.
He was a medical guy, one of the top renowned doctors back in the time.
This is like in 1900, you said.
Yeah,
okay.
Right. And so I think that he was probably trying to prove himself. This is me inferring things from,
I like it,
like articles. So
right.
No
I like
idea.
to get myself in the mind.
But I feel like he was maybe trying to prove himself to his dad a little bit, and he wanted to keep finding things instead of looking at a clump of gear.
And he did.
Yeah, and he went on to do other stuff. I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
But so it just sat there for a while. Could have been maybe he had a messy breakup, and he's like, I need to hit the road again.
Yeah, totally.
He's like, he didn't want to like run into her in town.
Yeah, he was like, fuck this clump of rock.
Right.
I'm gonna go find something.
I'm gonna go find something
better.
else, and maybe a new partner.
So he never figured it out that it was
no.
Oh.
You know, he just started. So 1951. Okay. Fast forward about 50 years. Mm-hmm. 49 years. Yeah. Exactly. So a guy named a historian of science and a physicist, amongst other things. His name was Derek John de Sola Price. So we're going to call him Price from now on.
Price. Okay.
And he breathed new life into the mechanism. And the reason for this is he was looking at it. It's like, you know, there's scholars, they go back and look at things, right?
Yeah.
He's looking at it, and now there's X-ray and gamma ray technology.
Oh, okay.
And so they
still hadn't taken all that dirt off that thing
yet.
can,
you know, or they just hadn't looked at the interior, right? And these types of the new technology allowed them to look inside without taking it apart. And there's like layers of gears, and there was 30 gears inside this enclosure or this compartment. And then on the outside, there's also dials that they found and things like that. And so they realized it was something more special, right? Because it's very technical,
Right.
something crazy technical to be made back in 100 BC.
Did you tell me that they already knew that this was from 150 BC at
Um,
this time, or did they just
you know
know
what?
it was
I think
old?
this is when they started realizing. I think right around this time is when they started realizing it was that old.
Okay, yeah, because anything from 150 BC should be put ahead of almost anything.
You would think, yeah.
So obviously they didn't.
Yeah, it
Okay.
took them a while to realize what they had.
God, I love history.
Yeah, it's really cool. And so I should name a different guy too. There was Price and Charalampos Karakalos.
Ooh, what are we gonna call him? Compost.
Karakalos. I we'll just say Price and Karakalos. How about that?
Okay.
Anyway, so they were both credited with that. So he did a lot of the imaging with Price.
Okay,
So,
we're not trying to offend anyone here. We'll give everyone credit where credit is due.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's other people like
Sure.
like really the support staff behind them was probably
Let the hate mail begin.
Yeah, the support. I'd like to also throw out that the support staff behind the people, like anyone cleaning up the lab,
Sure.
or bringing them lunch or whatever.
Sure.
Thank you to them as well.
Families.
So family, friends, cats of Price. Okay, so the capabilities of it. This is what you were originally asking. Like, what does this thing even do? Is it just 30 gears that touch each other? Or...
Mm-hmm.
So the ancient, it not only tracked the movements of the moon and the sun, it was astrological. It just wasn't an astrological clock. So it tracked the movements of the moon and sun, but also predicted eclipses and modeled the moon's irregular orbit decades in advance of like when modern astrology realized that the moon had like a irregular orbit. So it was really advanced, right? And so it could, yeah, exactly.
Why does the moon have a irregular orbit?
No idea.
Okay. Someone write in about, and tell us why the moon has an irregular orbit.
It has something to do with mass and gravity.
Okay.
In relation to the Earth and the Sun.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you any more of that.
Okay.
So it's so incredible to think that way back then they had something that could predict eclipses.
Right. And why were they trying to predict eclipses? Like who is like, oh,
it's science. So they had the ability.
I'm going to sit around and try and figure out when the next, like 150 BC.
That's any science, I think. They ask a question, they try and go figure it out, Okay,
so here's what I'm guessing happened. One day, the sky went dark, and someone was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Did you see that, Fred? And then they got together, and then they're like, some people believed him, some people didn't. Let's say it was a partial. Other people were like, oh, no, it was a total. So I was like, oh, it's like, it was over here a little bit. Yeah. This is me like trying to figure out how they even, because you could have an eclipse and not even notice.
Right. You talking about like the one that doesn't block out all of the sun? Right.
Right. So who spent their life trying to figure out when the next eclipse was?
A lot of people. Same people who wanted to figure out if the Earth was in the center of the universe.
Didn't they need to be like farming the land and like
raising... Well, this happened in Greece, which is like after all of that. Like Greece is...
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just weird. It's weird that someone's job was this.
Well, after
you know that their family thought they were a deadweight.
You think so? All right. For the record,
they weren't helping.
Just for the record, I would like to say that science is important.
I don't think it was back then.
There's no dead weight.
I don't think it was back then.
Okay.
I think it was completely useless. They didn't know what they were looking at.
Okay.
They weren't helping bring any money.
You don't think like the laws of physics were important? Like they probably wanted to know like, why does this work this way? Why does this work this way?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that they did this stuff.
I think... Oh, absolutely. I'm thinking
otherwise
that people were trying
to survive.
What?
Otherwise, I wouldn't know how an apple falls out of a tree.
Okay.
You know the apple?
I get it.
Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. So, irregular moon orbit, eclipses, 150 BC. Okay. it's like the first it would be like the first like computer with a calendar, cosmic clock, planner, a celestial planner. It's like a all in one kit for this Antikythera mechanism.
How
right?
did they like know they were right? You know what I mean? Because you have to wait so many years for an eclipse to come, and
Yeah,
I guess maybe the moon told them.
that's the analog part of it. So the gears work together. Think of like a clock or whatever, and all the gears were created in a certain way so that
Oh,
it did a basically math for you and told you when these things were going to happen.
God, there's some smart fucking
Yeah,
people out there.
for sure. And so this happened. So 150, 100 BC, just to give you an idea of what was going on in history back then.
Sure. Okay.
That's the Hellenistic period, which is it's the time between the death of Alexander the Great and Cleopatra the Seventh.
Versus Cleopatra 1 through 6.
Cleopatra 1 through 6 most likely happened before the 7th. So
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah,
Was she the one who hooked up with that Roman guy?
Frank.
I don't think his name was Frank.
I don't remember who you're talking about.
Okay. All right. We need to do another podcast on on the whole Roman history, first of all, which would
Yeah, well,
probably be like,
this is Greek, but yeah.
sure. Okay. Focus.
No, that's okay. I just just letting you know. So the Romans found it, Greeks built it. That's where all this is going back to.
Okay.
So and it was really the gold. It's kind of going back to what you said. This is the golden era of Greek mathematics, physics, philosophy, science. They were just like a mecca for. I was kind of thinking about what you asked. They had all of their food all the time. They had life was good. They had a society, so they have
Okay.
time to do these other things, right?
Okay.
Like they didn't have to
Because
focus
they've
all their
settled the
day.
land
Yeah,
and they've started
because
to
and it's
domesticate
all
with
thanks to
cats.
cats. Because if they didn't have cats to kill the rodents, they wouldn't have been able to have dependable food,
Thank you,
and they
Stanley.
wouldn't have been able to do this science stuff.
Thank you, Stanley.
All right. So one other interesting thing I found is that scientists, they look at this thing still from time to time, but they think that it's possible that other components fell off of this, right? Like could have been in the shipwreck or over time.
Like it does
I mean,
even
this
more.
is 2,000 years old, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, and it could have done more, and it could have also tracked the classical planets, the 5 classical planets, which if you're wondering what those are, because I had no idea, it is Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, Mercury, and Mars. They're the planets that you could
We can
basically see without advanced telescopes and things
Makes
like that.
sense.
Yeah. So
is Pluto a planet these days?
I don't think it is. I think it's still downgraded.
I thought they kicked it out and then they put it back in.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know.
I haven't followed that too much.
All right.
The
Someone leave a comment and tell us if Pluto's a planet. No idea.
I don't think it is. But
okay, let's
possible.
place a bet. I think it is. You
All
think
right.
it's not.
What do we win if we get it?
Dang. We'll let them decide.
$5.
$5. What am I gonna give you $5 of your own money?
It's fun.
Okay. $5.
So the I've talked about it already, but this thing is so much older. So the next time we saw something of this complexity was like the 14th century when Richard Wallingford entered the stage.
Was he the third? Was it Richard Wallington the third?
The internet webpage that I was researching, which could have been Wikipedia. I don't remember which one.
Uh-huh.
It said that it was Richard of Wallingford. It didn't have a number afterwards.
Richard of Wallingford?
Mm-hmm. So he entered the stage with astronomical clocks. That was the next time, but that was 14th century. So like at least 1400 years after this first thing was invented. Isn't that insane?
Yes. And when did the Mayans do it?
The Mayans.
You know, the Mayans had all kinds of like temples that predicted the star alignment and things like that. They predicted the end of the world in 2000.
Accurately.
Wow.
They accurately predicted the end of the world.
Right?
Yeah.
So how do we even know that this stuff that they were predicting was correct if the Mayans couldn't even do it correct?
Yeah. Well, the thing is in my research, I was focusing on the Antikythera mechanism in Greece.
Not the Mayans.
So I didn't really.
Or Cleopatra.
I didn't really. And the Mayans were in South America.
Okay, well, I think you just found your next episode.
Yeah, maybe. Good point. So that's it.
That was so fun.
All right, good.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed this.
I did too. Do you think they did?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Does it matter? I don't know.
No. But it was a lot of fun. Let's do this again
I
next
hope
week.
they liked it, but
Let's do this again next week.
Yeah, let's do it.
And hey, if anyone out there has an idea for an episode, just go ahead, send it in the comments, and you just might find yourself right here hosting alongside with us.
Wow.
That would be so fun
That would be really fun.
to meet the people who care about random shit like we do.
Yeah.
And just like researching, just like Googling stuff and researching is fun. That's why we do this.
Yeah, it is.
So let's just have fun with it and figure out if we're right or wrong, or figure out what we don't know.
Have a great week, everybody.
Until next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you all for listening. That's a wrap for today. Remember, this is not just a podcast, it's an interactive experience. If you've got a burning topic you want us to try and butcher next, drop it in the comments below. And if we pick your brainchild, you might just find yourself sitting in the hot seat as our honorary guest host. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode, and follow us on all of our listening platforms. Until next time, stay curious.